So next up, we have Dr. Rao. So Dr. Rao founded the L.V. Prasad Eye Institute in 1987 in Hyderabad after a successful career in the United States as an academic ophthalmologist. Dr. Rao received his basic medical education in Guntur, Andhra Pradesh, and completed his postdoc residency training in ophthalmology at the All India Institute for Medical Sciences in New Delhi. He went to the United States in 1974, where he was trained first at Tufts University School of Medicine, where he continued on the clinical faculty until his return to India in 1986. His areas of specialization include diseases of the cornea, eye banking and corneal transplantation, community eye health, eye care policy and planning. He's published a lot. Across the globe, he's delivered many lectures around the world. Dr. Rao has been honored with several international and national awards in recognition of his services to eye care and public health. He also holds several board and leadership positions in prominent national and international organizations and was formerly the chair and chief executive officer of the International Agency for the Prevention of Blindness. He's currently the chair of the Academia Ophthalmologica Internationalis and the chair of the L.V. Prasad Eye Institute, where we are collaborating in Hyderabad. So welcome, Dr. Rao. You don't have to move if you don't want to. Please welcome Dr. Rao.
Thank you, Beth. After all those highly intellectual presentations, I'm actually going to present to you a story, let me say, of a village in India, and present to you with a problem. You're all people who can give us a lot of solutions. In this room, I hope by the end of the day I can go back with some solutions to the people of this village. This is the village I hail from, in the southern part of India. A village of 2,000 people, and a village probably half the people below poverty line. And these are the kinds of situations that you see all over the developing world. I'm an eye doctor, trained to be an eye doctor. And in our area, blindness, there are over 300 million people in the world who are significantly visually impaired or blind. And 90% of them reside in such villages of the developing countries. We have wonderful breakthroughs in the area of medical science, biology, biotechnology, information technology, etc., etc. But still, the benefits of all those breakthroughs and technologies haven't percolated to these people living in such communities and villages around the world. So when we talk of emerging worlds and technologies, the challenge before us is, how do we exploit the best of each of the technologies that are out there in the world to the benefit of the most neglected and marginalized people in the world? How do I advance here? So during the past 25, 30 years, in the field of eye care, we came up with a model of delivery of eye care. It's an innovation by itself, not a technological innovation, but an innovation in the area of delivery of healthcare. From the remotest rural areas, working with volunteers, focusing on a population of 5,000 people called Vision Guardians, to the center of excellence at the top of the pyramid that does everything that an academic medical center in Boston does. So that's the kind of system that we have created, a kind of care that we all around the world are now aspiring for the so-called universal health coverage. From America to India, everybody is aspiring for it. But unless it follows these four principles, the 4 A's, universal health coverage will remain elusive. So this is the kind of model that we built. And this pyramid typically serves a population of 50 million people in a developing country. To be impactful, we have to replicate this pyramid 200 times around the developing world. Only then can we have the real impact on eliminating what we call, in our language, needless blindness or avoidable blindness, blindness that is already preventable or treatable, for which we already have existing solutions. The universal access, reaching to the remote communities, no requirement of a highly qualified physician and ophthalmologist because they usually are not available in the remote rural areas. A care that you and I would like to have of good quality, and it should be part of a sustainable system. So one of the things that we have begun a few years ago started as a casual conversation between Ramesh and one of our colleagues, Virender Sangwan, outside of a meeting room, ended up with the creation of an innovation center in our institute called Sujana, where each year we are bringing about 100 engineering, technology, design students from across India and put them in a room, literally, for over a week and challenge them with what we have problems in our institute with our patients in diagnostics, in treatment, etc. And the results are amazing. In 1 week, they come up with a number of different ideas, and some of them have, Ramesh has already alluded to in his earlier lecture, have resulted in some products in the pipeline. And we hope that these kinds of products can permeate throughout the world. This is just the partnerships that our institute has around the world. But much more than this, and many more partnerships have to evolve through this technology, and the benefit should spread to everybody around the world. Most often, it should be within the developing world. In the first picture that I have shown, you may have seen people taking notes while they are surveying the villagers. From that stage, over the last 20 years, we have now reached a stage of using the tablets, doing a similar surveys. We are now using business intelligence, a dynamic process, and I sit in my office every day. We have 160 locations in the rural areas of permanent primary care centers. I get dynamically everything that is going on, giving me complete information on the entire profile of the kind of people that we are surveying, what kind of problem, the percentage distribution of different diseases, etc. So the power of business intelligence. Another example of application of technology that we are using now is the machine learning, where we fed the data from our surgical procedures. You must have heard the procedure LASIK to eliminate the glasses. And by feeding all the data, we now can predict the post-operative outcomes of the same procedure in future. And we are now getting more and more into it. Just a couple of weeks ago, we started putting together a global network of major eye institutions, starting with about 8 of them, and linking up with Microsoft to put all our data into it, and we will be sharing. And Paulo Shore's university in Brazil, Massachusetts Eye&Ear Infirmary here, and then University of Melbourne are some of the partners in this entire Microsoft and LVP-initiated global network. So once that happens, we will be able to actually predict the outcomes. We also can actually, using the data sets from all these organizations and using the data science capabilities that all of you have, can help a lot of people and benefit a lot of people in the future. This is one of the innovations that came out of the Innovation Center, a perimeter that checks the visual fields in a newborn. As of now, we don't have any such tools available in the market. And we also have been working with an institute in Miami called Bascom Palmer, the #1 rated institute in America, to actually use a drone technology. The patient puts the chin on the chin rest in a village somewhere, and sitting in Hyderabad, our ophthalmologist can actually examine the patient. It's a much better version of the so-called telemedicine or teleophthalmology, and we are now beginning to employ this in about 10 centers and hopefully scale it up to 200 centers within the next 12 months. Here is another example of what you can do with the business intelligence. This is the patient population of our institute from throughout India and elsewhere in the world. In one shot, you can get an idea of the patient distribution. Now we are trying to feed their phone numbers into this data. So with the click of a button, hopefully we'll be able to reach out to them and encourage people who failed to show up for follow-up evaluation to come back and get their eyes tested. So these are all the various applications at different levels to integrate this entire network to take care of simple problems like having to need a pair of glasses to the most complex of surgeries in research, in education, and in many other applications. So when the power of technology is combined with the human mind, and I was very intrigued when Bill showed this morning the 3H. We keep telling our trainees, each healthcare professional should be a 3H professional. Somebody who has skills with his hands, a good surgeon, who applies the mind and the intelligence and knowledge, and has the heart to be a good medical care professional. That combination of a medical profession with the technology can have an impact on the entire world, at least 3 to 4 billion people by the year 2020. And I think with the kind of collaborations we have with Ramesh's group, we think it is eminently possible. Thank you.
So our last speaker of the morning is, but definitely not least, is Dr. Paulo Shore of Brazil. So Professor Shore received his MD in medicine from Sao Paulo University, a master's in ophthalmology and PhD in science from the School of Medicine at the Federal University of Sao Paulo. And he's currently a tenured professor, both in medicine and ophthalmic technology, and professor of the post-graduation course of ophthalmology and health informatics at EPM UNIFESP. He coordinates the ocular bioengineering sector, where he developed 22 technological products, 18 processes and innovation techniques, 7 software packages related to education and health. He also holds 5 patents. He has published 120 full papers and peer-reviewed literature, over 200 meeting communications, et cetera, book chapters and awards. His major interests are surgical optics in cataract and refractive surgery, physiological optics, basis, surgical and diagnostic equipment, surgical instrumentation, and teaching. He's mentored multiple PhD theses, master's, and undergraduate students, and he holds a scholarship in innovation and technology from the Brazilian Council of Research and Development. In 2012, he was a visiting professor here at the Media Lab, and he founded MedHacker, which follows the emerging world's innovation philosophy. So, welcome, Paulo. It's great to have you here.
Thank you, Beth. Well, I've been a a hacker forever. But being in an academic environment forever is too long. So sounds that I've been a hacker for the last 600 years. And you see this brewery in German. Did you get that, John? The brewery in München, yep. And in fact, probably my first remember for being a hacker comes from this science fair in my high school, in elementary school, and I was 12. The purpose of the talk, and in fact the challenge Ramesh gave us, is how to keep this guy an innovator, how to empower him to be an entrepreneur. To entrepreneur at 50 years old is too old. So to empower the youngsters, and not to take them out of this situation and have them going all the way through the same way I went through. That was coming to MIT in '95, doing the MD, PhD, and then published tons of papers. How can we just shorten this path? This is a picture I took with Dr. David Miller in your left, and Ernesto Blanco, professor from Harvard and MIT, and myself. So now, at that stage, I've been taken more seriously. At that stage, in the science fair, I was just another kid wanting to drill holes inside television tubes to see what was inside. And that was not serious at all. I was not a trustable hacker. Now I can be a trustable hacker with tons of citations, a lot of prestige from the academia, a good practice in my town. I'm the chair of the department nowadays. The department is the biggest department in the whole South America. Now I can be trustable. But is it fair to have all our young guys need to go all the way up? Then they can like have the dream becoming true? Or can we do something beforehand? Ramesh told us we can do that beforehand. I met Ramesh in 2012. That was an airport picture, remember that? He was there for 4 hours. He was already a star, and I was talking to him as he was like a normal guy. He was very polite at that time, and he invited me to come to MIT, and that released my messenger RNA to translate into proteins, and that way I kind of exposed my hacker to the world. He took me to India. That picture was not taken by John. That is in the picture. I'm in the back, the bald guy. Then he took me to Mumbai, where I kind of learned the philosophy of Redex and of these build-a-tones. That's a term that he coined. Back into Brazil, in 6 months, I took all my PhDs and I transformed them all in mad hackers. So I was naturally taking several PhDs from several backgrounds. A guy that's an architect, and then a technologist, professor of history, arts, and base jumper gal. So I took a bunch of people together for ophthalmologists and asked them and put them to develop technology. With the help of the Brazilian government, we put together the first workshop on health innovation that aimed to improve the life of oldies. It was in the same fashion as the one I learned in Hyderabad. A huge success, I guess 14 products. That aim was mostly to educate and to empower people and to show that it was possible to widespread the idea. Then we went to youngsters, and we tried to train people that were about 17 to 18 years old to be the mentors in this small hackathon. And the students were even younger guys, from 11 to 14 years old. And we wanted them to look inside the body. We gave them a fixed set, a fixed kit that you can see up there. and 2 hours. And that way, they build things to look inside the body, and we trained that juniors, the Med Hacker juniors, that are right here. This is one of them. After that, these juniors, aided by us, by the Med Hackers seniors, they did their own hackathon inside the best high school in São Paulo, and they coined that name, Be Zone. Be innovative, produce something new about health, food in the school itself. It was in August 2015. And this girl that's beside me, that's in fact my daughter. It's hard to speak about your daughter, but she was the one that we kind of motivated, and she took the work on. So I took the work from Ramesh, and I transformed the Med Hacker group in an active group, and she looked at our work, and she kind of got her own group. She's now in the University of British Columbia, and maybe the next RedX club will be Vancouver, who knows. The core group, my group, start doing the same thing again. And that way, and at that time, in 2014, we did another build-a-thon on doctor-patient relationship. That was very, very, very interesting. Since I am in the university, in the medical university, it's very easy for me to get my medical doctors. And it's very hard, doctors who are here know, to have medical doctors with open mind. And we know all of them by name, because we count them in one hand. And then I know all of them, and I took all of them to this hackathon. One anesthesiologist, a psychiatrist, a pediatrician, myself, and then more 2 eye doctors. And they were all there helping the guys to developing solutions for the patient-doctor relationship. Huge success again. Then we went to the other end of the line. We took 20 PhDs from my university, and we've put them together to make solutions for the Olympics. When the Olympics were in Brazil, like previous to the Olympics, we've put them. And that was the worst experience we got. So PhDs are bad. Young guys are good. This is the last edition of the Be Zone. It's a new school space. They've put that together in June 2016. On purpose, I'm not in the picture, but that's Marina there. And they did beautiful mock-ups. This is their logo. The mock-ups are being produced in the school nowadays. And this is the last thing that happened, powered by Med Hacker. We, in the same high school, we helped these guys to develop, in fact, to understand and develop social innovation, but they developed frugal technology. And the idea was to screening for people with low vision related to refractive errors in the street. And we asked them which solution would they propose. And they came with a car plate and a salt cap as a pinhole. That's absolutely available wherever you are. And then trigonometry. And they screened 200 students during the science fair, and they got the first prize. So this kind of innovation is something that's very, very, very useful for them. It educates. They will apply that in a triage. In a big triage series we will have next week. I won't be there. But these kinds of give power to these guys and show what they are able to do. These are some numbers that Med Hackers already achieved. And in fact, I need to thank this guy. I think this event is a celebration for him and for this philosophy that he's put together. And thank you, Ramesh Askar.